Hello and welcome to Hey, I Loved That Movie, the podcast where we rewatch the films we loved when we were younger to see if they still hold up. I'm Dan,
I'm Michael.
I'm Helena.
And I am Elliot.
and for this episode we watched Peter Jackson's King Kong. So, what is everyone's sort of connection to this film? Like, what's your memories of it?
Vague and distant.
I didn't know it existed, to be honest. I'm sure there are other versions, and I knew they were bad, so I never watched this one.
Oh, that's fair. I remember, like, before this came out in the cinema, like, when it was coming out in the cinema, I was very excited for it. And I saw this for my birthday, so I would have been 13 and
Wow.
sat through a 3-hour movie in the cinema.
I thought I had fond memories of this movie, but then partway through watching it, I realized it wasn't the movie that I enjoyed. It was the video game counterpart that came out with it.
Yeah, I remember the video game really well
because
it was a
really
solid
good.
video. Yeah, solid video game.
What did it come out on?
Yeah, I think it came out on like PS2 era, so PS2
Yeah.
original Xbox. PC probably.
I mean, I definitely want to go back and replay the game now after watching the movie. It made me want to replay the game.
It was the spears in the game that got me.
Yeah, they were.
They
so
were fun.
good.
They were fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're here. This is Hey, I Love That Movie, not Hey, I Love That Game.
Yes.
So now let's talk about the movie.
So anyone got much to say about the first hour?
Well, I have a surprising amount of notes for that actually. Like,
Well, yeah, because it was an hour long.
yeah, I did enjoy sort of how it sets the era and stuff. I do think Jack Black was great in the role of like the
Yeah, he
So- yeah.
suited. We're strangely suited, especially for the time period it was set in. Even down to just, I would say, literally his facial features and the way that he looked just worked.
Yeah, everyone looked the part. Like, I forgot that Kyle Chandler was in this, and he's the guy that plays the sort of like 1930s handsome actor. Yeah, like I forgot he was in. Like, everyone looked great. There
Yeah.
was I can't remember the name of the actor that plays Mr. Driscoll, the actual actor, not the guy who she mistakes him for at the beginning as well. But yeah, they were all very good.
The casting, it was really good. I did find it jarring, though, I must admit. I'm so used to Jack Black being Jack Black in whatever,
Everything he's in.
Yeah.
that I was like waiting for him to, like, I don't know, start rap, like singing or playing guitar, sort of School of Rock style, or I don't know, being in Jumanji and sort of freaking out.
So what I struggled a lot within that first hour of the movie was that they were trying to set up all the different characters. They were trying to show you their convictions. They were trying to do all of this. And I just did not care. I could not find, and all the way through the movie, I didn't find myself actually caring or connecting with or enjoying any of the characters.
Yeah. The only one I was like interested in was like that kid, and they're like, oh, we found him on the boat and he'd seen something, and it was like, well, okay, was he on that island?
No, he came there because he could teleport.
Oh, you mean
Jamie
Jamie
Bell,
Bell
yeah.
that looks like Tom Holland? Through most of the film, I was like, that can't be Tom Holland.
No, he was.
Yeah, because Tom Holland must have been,
He was
what, 6 at the
Far
time?
too young for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I
yeah.
really enjoyed all the characters and that, to be honest. Like, I thought it did a pretty good job of sort of telling you enough about them and sort of getting
I mean,
you
it was
to care
a
about them,
great
but-
story, but it had fuck all to do with the giant gorilla, which I must admit was the main reason I watched
yeah,
the movie.
Yeah.
Exactly that. I was like watching all these characters do their thing, and I was like, why did none of them even? There's nothing.
But also, like, it took an hour to introduce 6 characters,
Yes.
and 3 of them weren't really given much of an actual personality.
That's the thing, yeah, but it's still like it
It's still
took so
definitely-
long, and you still don't get much.
They spent like 10 minutes introducing the era with a weird montage, and then 10 minutes introducing the female lead, 10 minutes introducing Jack Black, and then everyone else was in it. And it took an hour to do that. And
Yeah, a
Yep.
seemingly endless amount of crew as well. I struggled to keep track.
There were a surprising amount of people. There's a point towards the end when they, spoilers, eventually get off the island, and they're like, yeah, we lost 17 people on this mission. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
It felt like more.
It felt like
mean-
a lot more than that.
No.
17 people, more than 17 people died. They can't find 17 people.
One of my notes is literally, Jesus Christ, how are we still on the ship?
Hmm.
I think the point of the whole it being 3 hours and all that stuff is it's 1 hour is pre Skull Island, 1 hour is on Skull Island, and 1 hour is post Skull Island.
It was about an
Yeah.
hour and a half or so on Skull Island, and then
Yeah.
it's only the endings bit where they're back in New York was actually shorter than I
Yeah.
remember.
It was
No,
about
it was a-
45 minutes because
Yeah.
I was like, oh god, I
was-
still have 45 minutes left.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's a film split into 3. Like
Yeah.
that's the point is you get those 3 parts. And I think our main complaint collectively, apart from Dan, is going to be that it's a 3-hour long film that doesn't need to be 3 hours
Yeah.
long.
Absolutely.
I watched the extended edition. It was 3 hours and 20 minutes long.
Jesus Christ.
What? Why does it need? Because so I thought that I was like, why the fuck is this film 3 hours long? It feels like a lot of it is just padded space
Yeah.
and weird interactions between the woman. Because again, no learning characters' names in this podcast, and
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 Kong. Don't care.
Yeah.
And like I know one of the characters' name. His name is King Kong, and that is all I care about.
Yeah.
But the only thing there's like so much of the middle section that's made up with them two just sort of fucking around for a bit,
Mm.
where they're
I
just
like
pissing
those
about.
scenes though. He's a good gorilla. He's a good boy.
But they
yeah,
didn't
like
need to
those, and then
be into them.
intercut with horrific monsters.
Oh
Horrific
god.
monsters.
Yeah, I think actually you say that our only complaint is going to be the length of the movie. No, I have other complaints, and they are all bug related.
See,
Yeah,
I'm a
See,
fan of the bug scenes because
the
they're
bugs were
what
my
they're meant to
favorite
be.
part of the movie because that was the one of the few bits where I actually felt engaged and thrilled by the movie.
Oh, they were
they
disgusting.
were terrifying. The
That
leeches
lid.
were the worst bits for me. Like
Yes.
like
Horrifying.
Andy Serkis gets the worst death, and he doesn't deserve that. Like,
No,
Well, Andy Serkis gets 2 terrible deaths because number 1, he's eaten by weird slug things,
Yeah.
and then number 2, he's shot off a building and collapses and hits the ground.
yeah,
Mm.
In the middle of Manhattan.
Something that I noticed that was used quite a lot through the movie, given that I have recently binge watched the extended Lord of the Rings trilogy, is that Peter Jackson uses that same like low frame rate kind of effect, but he uses it for very different moments than what he did in Lord of the Rings. It was used to show something particularly intense happening, whereas in King Kong it was used to almost to try to convey horror.
was
but
that
yeah.
the juddery kind of slow?
yeah, that where it
Oh,
goes a
God,
bit
I
like
hated
low
that. It
frame
was-
rate. It
'Cause
was
it
used.
only-
It was the same technique used in a completely different manner, and I don't feel like it worked in King Kong.
yeah. It's only really in that first section when they're being attacked by all the tribals and stuff. And
Yes, yeah,
But
yeah.
it's used a lot in that.
Yeah.
It
It is
it
used
kept
a
coming
lot.
back, and it was like, I didn't enjoy that. It really got on my nerves.
yeah, the film was actually only 2 hours long, but those scenes
That's
made it
big one.
longer.
Hmm.
I just feel a lot of the scenes could have.
And
been
then
cut.
randomly it just stops, and then he just does normal slow mo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it stops after that sort of thing because I'm pretty sure. So I obviously watching the extended bit. You know the bit where the tribals like smash that guy's head in.
Mm-hmm.
That is, as far as I can tell, one of the only times you actually see blood in the movie. Like for how
Mm.
violent a lot of this film is, you don't see any gore or anything.
Yeah.
Is it that violent?
I mean, there's a lot of horrific being attacked by weird animals and
There is, but it's not like that
not- yeah.
violent. Because I wouldn't call the weird slug eating bit. I wouldn't call that violent. That was just horrific.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's
The only-
disgusting. Yeah.
The only like violent bit in that, like physically violent bit in that bit, was when one of them got ripped apart by bugs.
Mm.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it was just kind of like
There's a
Big-
lot of ragdoll people just being flying around the place, wasn't
Yes.
there?
yeah.
Yeah.
What was upsetting, I think, about that bug scene, and I think we're going to talk a lot about the bug scene,
I hate it. I hated it.
is it was just because the music cut out and there wasn't
Yeah.
much like sound to it. It was just something happening and you had to deal with it and watch it. And I think I liked that horror bit of it, where it was
Mm.
just you had to watch it. You couldn't hear anything else other than it.
I watched a brief bit of this. I guessing like a year or so ago. That my partner was watching it, and I saw the bug bit, and I was like, you know what? No, I'm good. And I went and didn't watch the film in another room. So I spent all the time on the island up until the bug scene, waiting for the bug scene. Every time someone was by like a wall, or like where there's that scene where she's running away from the T-Rex kind of dinosaurs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she's like in the log, and there's like the
Oh, the
millipede.
big centipede, millipede things. Yeah.
And I was like, oh God, is it starting? And then it gave me a little break and I was like, that couldn't have been it. Because I remember watching it for a good few minutes and being like, nope.
Far more horrifying than just
Like,
that.
I thought I was just sat there waiting for this horrible bug scene. And it did not disappoint in how disgusting it was.
There was a lot of issues I had with the movie in terms of things that happened that I was just like, that wouldn't happen. With the bug scene, it was the bit where the guy had a Tommy gun pointed at the guy with the crickets all over him, and he was managing to precision shoot the crickets off of the guy's body with a Tommy. No, no.
This felt weird.
It just exactly. It just there is no way.
It was like a weird bit of comedy in that scene.
Yeah. I guess played for like a how the hell is he doing this anyway?
Yeah,
but
like you would have just
He
riddled
had
that
his
guy
eyes
with
shut like a lot
Yeah.
of the time.
Yeah.
If we're gonna go through with I'm not gonna say fine tooth comb because my God,
We
we'd
do
be
not
here
have
forever.
time. We do not
But
have
if we go
time.
through the wide tooth shower comb, the fact that they even managed to leave the port, it's a bit like, well, okay, but why didn't one of the bigger ships stop them? Why was
Yeah.
the boat able to leave? Because it was so clearly like the police were on their way. Surely someone would have just gone to the harbour master, stop that boat, and a bigger boat would say stop, and they'd just like, I don't know, drop an anchor or something.
Mm.
It was made so clear that it's just a shitty steamboat.
Yeah. It's because that would have made the film about an hour long, and they still had another 2 hours to do. And in that the boat scene, which we kind of started to talk about and then stopped, the reveal of the name Skull Island is one of the weirdest scenes.
S
It
K
was such a
U. I
strange
hated it. I
scene.
hated it.
It was so because it was cutting between him and like 4 or 5 other people's reactions.
Yeah, because I couldn't tell if Jamie Bell knew what Skull Island was, or
Well, I don't know how many of those people were in that room at the time because it felt like some of them were just in other places doing stuff. It was so weird.
I also thought the conviction to specifically go to this place to shoot a movie was a bit strange. Like, document it, I get that, but to shoot a movie specifically was...
He was desperate to have that edge, that something to make his film special because, yeah, he'd basically promised everyone everything, hadn't he? Like, he was in so much debt at that point that he...
Yeah, I think he made his speciality was like animal films, and he wanted to go and make films about the animals on this island that doesn't exist. I think that was the premise.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a 3-hour long film. I couldn't remember anything by the end of it.
Yeah, I sort of started forgetting who I am, what year it is.
Yeah.
I was lost in the 1933 of it all.
I can't imagine watching this in a cinema. Like, not, and at least I had the brief moments where I needed to, sleep, eat, whatever. So I could pause it and be like, fucking hell, there's a lot left.
I was having breaks of this film. I was watching other stuff. I was like, I need to stop. It was like 45 minutes. I needed a break.
I struggled a lot towards the end. I started playing games on my phone because I just couldn't. I got to a point where I was basically done with the movie, but knew I needed to persevere and watch more.
See, this is why I paced myself. I was like, I'm taking a break from this film because it's especially in the opening hour when nothing happens.
Yeah, it was a real slog at the towards the end, especially like I was just waiting. If we're gonna cut right to the end, I was just waiting for it to I was like, oh come on, climb the fucking Empire State Building, then get on with it.
Exactly.
Come on, I've got tea ready.
That was like something that bothered me is I couldn't work out why this film is 3 hours long.
No.
Yeah,
there
was no reason for it to be.
I cannot work. And my first thought was like, oh, maybe the original is 3 hours long, and they just had to keep it to that because that was part of it. So I looked at King Kong 1933. It is an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes ish.
It's also hilarious.
I've seen that one like I think after this came out because I got quite into all that sort of stuff, so I watched it then.
It's not 3 hours long because I think it's a great film. I think King Kong is a great film. It is shot really well. The visual effects are groundbreaking for their time.
Yeah, they really hold up real well. Like that's one thing we normally pick up on this podcast is some of the visual effects don't look great, but they looked real good in this.
A lot of them did, but the one thing that I really didn't fix. So there was a scene where they were climbing the hill with the velociraptors chasing them, and you could literally see how the basically the 3D models weren't casting shadow or anything like that, and it really bugged me.
Sometimes the CGI there was too much to like when there was multiple dinosaurs on screen, it always sort of dropped. And there was also quite a few bits where it was like super obvious green screen as well.
Yeah,
I think
that's kind of what I mean. Yeah.
I think Anne being held by Kong was the bit that held
Whenever-
up the least.
Whenever they interacted with the people,
Yeah.
because the stampede scene just looked awful.
Yeah.
It just looked bad,
They
and
only-
it kept getting worse.
It was also really long.
Yeah,
We talk about the bit where a guy fly kicks a velociraptor in the head so hard that its head smacks to the ground.
you went to the Resident Evil school of fighting animals.
Yeah, exactly.
So the thing with this movie for me was, out of the entire 3-hour length feature, there are 2 scenes, and I really do mean 2 scenes in the whole movie that I actually would say, oh, that was good and I enjoyed this. One we've talked about, which was the bug scene. The other one is what I would argue is one of the biggest highlights of the whole movie, which was the T-Rex Kong fight. That was thrilling as hell. And that part of the movie sort of made me think of how my perception of this movie has changed after now watching modern kaiju movies, after having seen Godzilla vs. Kong, Kong Skull Island, Godzilla, all of those, and appreciating that back at the time that this film was made, this film wasn't made to be dumb fun like those movies, but I went into it thinking, oh yeah, Big Monkey, dumb fun. It was not dumb fun.
No, it's like an Oscar movie.
Yeah.
I think even that scene went on too long.
Oh
It
yeah, it was
dragged.
lengthy, but there was some proper good moments within it, and it was for me, it was the only part of the whole movie where I was actually sort of on side with Kong as a character / monster.
Yeah, at no point did I care about Kong in any
No,
way.
exactly.
I quite liked the bit where at the start of the relationship where she sort of is doing the prancing around and falling over, like her skit stuff.
Yeah,
And
that was
he
really
sort
fun.
of watches it, and that made that more human side of him I actually did really enjoy.
Yeah, like
Um,
every time she fell, I mean, it seemed terrifying doing cartwheels near that cliff, but
Yeah, I
like,
wouldn't say it was a smart move on her part.
Yeah.
It reminded me of when I pick up my hamster, and if my hamster for even a second interacts with me, I'm like, "Oh, you do know who I am."
And then,
Yeah.
like, the fact that he kept on finding it funny when she was tripping over and he was poking her, like, Kong would find Jackass hilarious.
Yeah.
That would be his favorite film.
Yeah, his favorite film series.
I
Hey,
just-
hey, I'm Johnny Knoxville, and welcome to Skull Island. And he
I
gets
just feel
fucking
like-
shat on by a T-Rex or something.
I felt like the film didn't do a good job of selling any of its focal points to me, really. I know that the way that they captured Kong was obviously completely like coincidental. They just happened to have whatever was in that bottle that Jack Black threw at Kong to knock him out, kind of thing. But I was
Chloroform.
I was thinking that whole time, I was like, okay, so you've caught the big gorilla. What about the literal dinosaurs?
Yeah.
I thought they'd at least bring back some bones. I suppose they did make quite a hasty escape, didn't they?
Yeah,
This is
it-
what I mean.
I
I
think- I
get
think
that
it
it was
would be-
coincidental.
I think it would be harder to capture the dinosaur. I think
Yeah.
they took the chloroform to capture animals.
Mm.
I think
Yeah,
it would be
because
much harder.
they used to basically, the one thing that the ship was used for was going to foreign countries and bringing back tigers, bears, lions,
Yeah.
anything they could get their greasy mitts on for the circus and for the shows.
I think that makes sense. I also think capturing those non-gorilla animals would be far harder than capturing Kong. Mainly separating them from a group because they all seem to fight in herds.
Yes.
Yeah, Kong's the only one where he's basically the only one left, isn't he?
Yeah.
Kongy no mates.
Also, you can always say, "Hey, we need to go to this island. There's loads of dinosaurs there." Whereas, like, we found a giant monkey. We found a giant gorilla.
That was the thing that I thought was a bit strange, was that, okay, so we've got the giant Kong and that is obviously a spectacle, but why the fuck had someone else not gone, oh shit, okay, let's go on a mission and capture a dinosaur and bring it back? Because, I mean, that would, honestly, if I had to choose big gorilla or dinosaur to go and see,
This is
Like big
exactly my
gorilla.
point.
Big gorilla.
well, you're
Hands
weird.
down big. No, hands down big gorilla. We know dinosaurs exist. We don't know big gorillas existed like that. We knew there were dinosaurs. There are
I thought
skeletons.
I thought we did know that big gorillas existed.
Not like that though.
Oh, okay, like megafauna.
Yeah,
Wasn't everything big?
yeah, but I don't think. I think in 1930 we didn't know that.
No.
Oh, okay.
So you'd
Yeah.
be like the thing that seems weird. I assume it was we show Big Gorilla and then we say to the rich people, "Fucking island full of dinosaurs, give us the money and we'll go get more."
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
they
I
might be able to
suppose,
get on the
yeah.
boat. We don't know how they get them on the boat because for a film that's over 3 hours long, they don't explain how they managed to get Kong on the boat and back over. I mean,
I
it was
guess
Because
it's small Kong at that point. It's not big Kong because he does change size. I'm not the only one that noticed.
Mm.
it's the ultimate monster movie problem, which is the monster changes sizes depending on where he is.
Yeah.
When he gets to the city, he is far smaller than he was when
Yep.
he was on the island.
Yeah.
It was quite jarring actually. Like I know that obviously he's supposed to look small in like being all chained up and everything, but it was like, well, no, that just looks like you've messed that up.
Well, because he was smaller, it meant that she had to be even smaller. So she looked tiny in the city because they had to shrink her down because they shrunk him down. And I think the one scene that stood out the most of like he has drastically changed size as a monster was the weird ice rink.
Yeah.
ice
Yeah.
dancing
Yeah,
Yeah, where
scene
he's
when
where
next to a bridge when he would have been the size of the bridge.
yeah, it was like he is either I don't understand the scale of this scene or he is far smaller than he was for the rest
Yeah.
of the film.
Also, he must be very like that ice probably wouldn't have held his weight, I assume.
Mm.
No.
I did think that in that scene. I was like,
I mean, I liked how Kong was sort of like slipping around a lot. I guess in his sort of tropical climate, he would never have really experienced snow.
yeah.
So it was cool seeing him sort of having a little
It was
play.
cute. I was still like, okay, but can you please take her to
Yeah.
the Empire State Building so that we can, go
Needs
home?
his fucking-
Well,
we all
that
know
was
how
my
this
other
film
problem.
ends.
By that point in the movie, it was like we all know what's gonna happen. It's just taking forever to get there, as usual.
One thing that I did find frustrating was the weird chase scene where he Driscoll goes and gets the gorilla, gets Kong to like chase him in the taxi.
Yeah, when he's in the
yeah.
taxi.
And it's like, was that to cause less destruction or more? Like, what's he
was to-
doing?
It was to get him to the Empire State Building so
Yeah.
they could end the film.
I think he actually causes less destruction than the army do. Like when the army get there and start shooting
Oh,
at
the
them.
indiscriminate! Like at one point,
Yeah.
don't they like firebomb a block of flats? Like all the
Yeah.
windows explode. I'm
Mm.
like, is this not causing more destruction than the actual gorilla?
It was
Exactly.
1930s Manhattan. No one cared. No one cared if the military destroyed something because of a huge gorilla.
But then
Mm.
when they do get to the point where he's climbing the Empire State Building and you get all the planes and that attacking, like I mean the sound design of that I found great. Like I loved the score of this film as well in general.
The sound
yeah.
design, the sound design is made. Everything in this film is individually incredible. The sound design, cinematography, the visual effects for the most part. It's the fact that it's all there for too long.
Yeah.
But the sound design is incredible throughout the film. Like all of the animals sound amazing.
Yeah.
All the music is amazing. Like technically, it's a great film. Everything about it is great. I just think if they cut like a lot of it out, it would have been
An
better.
hour at least.
Yeah, all of like the weird. No, they didn't even have to cut everything out. Just cut everything a bit shorter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what's frustrating, isn't it? It wasn't like there was one scene that was totally unnecessary. It's like every scene was just a bit too long. Like
It
each
just
fight went on a
dragged.
bit too long. Each
Yeah.
weird stilted bit of dialogue went on a bit too long.
Jack Black's camera. I need to say it's bothering me. It's been bothering me since I watched it this morning.
Is it about how many film reels he took to the island with him? Because
Well, it's the fact that he took one camera and it survived.
It
Mm.
doesn't. It
It
doesn't
doesn't.
survive.
I was gonna say
No.
it got smashed up at the end, didn't it?
It would have broke a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Those cameras are not like sturdy. They are like thin frames of glass. It is getting thrown about quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Nothing
really
happens
does.
to it.
Like when it does eventually break though, and you see Jack Black just sort of, I guess he breaks at that point as well because it's when they're all on the log and Kong's just like been flinging them about and they've fallen quite far down on the vines, which lucky those vines were there, and then they're being attacked. But that's the bug scene.
I think
That's when it they're really dropping it like flies at that point, and that's when this whole like in unlimited amount of sailors thing really starts to come into
Sure.
play as well. Like
Yeah.
that inconsistency.
because there weren't that many people on the ship. There can't have been.
I couldn't. I mean, much as I couldn't tell what size the gorilla was, I couldn't really tell what size the boat was.
It
Yeah.
would have been the Titanic to have that many people. Like a lot of people died.
Yeah, for the amount of people that they say that died, do you think a lot of them were just smashed into walls and then were like, no, I'm good, and just carried on to the next scene?
So much ragdoll swooping, and my favorite scene for that is right at the end where he's like picking up all the blonde ladies running around
Yeah.
and being like, "Oh, you're not Anne." Whoop, off you go. See ya.
Yeah, we get the ending, which, I mean, everyone knows the end of King Kong, where he's on the Empire State Building being shot at, and then
Which, when the film came out in 1933, I don't think the Empire State Building was that old, so it was quite a big
No.
deal.
and it
Mm.
was
Now
all,
it's like,
nor were
yeah.
planes.
And
Yeah,
it was the tallest. It was the tallest building, wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot less impressive now.
Yeah, climb the shard, dickhead.
But you also have the famous line, which is from King Kong, which is, it was beauty that killed the beast.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was
Oh.
the impact.
It was the
Yeah, that
impact.
was a naughty. That, to be honest, that line at the end pissed me off. And I know that it's the original ending, and it's even in like the book version that they got written as well. But it's the that just weird.
It was
Well, the-
slightly odd delivery.
I went and watched the clip of the ending of the original 1932 film as well, to be like, well, how did they deliver it? Because surely it must have been less clunky. Nope. In that, it is just as weird and
It's
just
just
out
as
of
weird.
place.
Well, I think that was like meant to be the point of the whole film. It's the beauty of the woman that killed the beast.
I'm pretty sure it was Jack Black kidnapping him.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, this was 1930s. But I know that they wanted, in the 2005 version, they wanted the lead actress from the original 1933 film to deliver that line. Sadly, she passed away about a month before filming started.
I mean,
Uh,
I'm not entirely surprised considering the original's from 1933 and this came out
Yeah.
in 2005. Like, they were
She
cutting
was-
it fine.
yeah, she was not super young when the original came.
Yeah, it's not really a tragedy that she
Yeah.
died, but it's still like,
It's
oh.
not a surprise, but yeah, no. Apparently, she was really dead set against doing it, and then she started to come around, and then sadly,
Just to spite them.
yeah,
Sadly,
I'm never doing it.
sadly, it was the movie that killed her.
Sadly, because sadly it was beauty that killed the beast. She's not a beast. I'm sure she was a wonderful woman. I'm sure she went through a lot in like 1930s Hollywood as a leading lady.
It's the fact that it was beauty killed the beast rather
Yeah.
than it was her beauty that killed the beast. Like, just a normal sentence, just
Mm.
phrased like a human is speaking would have been better. Still poignant, just sounds like you're not a robot. Yeah, I mean, well, that's why I went and watched the original, and not the whole film, but just the end. And it was still, it's still weird. The way he says it is still really,
Yeah.
Very stagey. It's very like theater ending. It had that feel. I was reading a lot of like the weird trivia bits. There's loads of little callbacks to the original film, and I really liked that bit of it. Like, if you pay attention and you know the original film, like, you know, when Jack Black's character is talking about all the different actresses that they could get, two of them are the original actresses in the original film.
Oh, right.
oh, nice.
And one of them is like a quick comment, which is, we can't get this woman. Why? Because she's working for TKB. She's doing a film. She's doing a shoot for TKB. TKB were the original production company that made the original King Kong, which is like Radio Productions now. I love that little, like, there's a few of them throughout the film where they just drop in these little, the original, the 1930s version.
Yeah, just little references and that to it.
I really love the setting, and I really like that they didn't try and make it in a different era, because obviously it so easily could have been.
Oh yeah,
It could be, it's a pretty timeless concept, because obviously the island's so, everyone will want to see a giant gorilla anyway. So I'm glad that they said it, and that they did a good job as well. Like, it really felt like proper 1930s.
Yeah, like the
New York. The New York set was fantastic.
the visual look of it was amazing.
Yeah, it also felt, with the way it was like made, it felt like an old movie.
Yes.
It felt like classic Hollywood when you were watching it. It was kind of shot and acted in that sort of classic, everything's a little bit over the top kind of Hollywood feel. I really liked that. I liked how close it stuck to being inspired by the 30s, the original version, but it didn't just like rip it and remake it shot for shot. I liked the little nods to classic Hollywood that were throughout it, because I can't deny that it isn't a good film. It's just it keeps going.
Like
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. For some reason, when I was watching it, personally, the length didn't bother me. I got really into this film. I feel like
Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot more than you guys did.
I thoroughly did not enjoy this movie, and I do not ever want to watch it again, ever.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I probably will not watch it again for a while. But
Mhm.
I can appreciate the technicality of it, and
Yeah.
it is a beautiful film, and the soundtrack is great, and it feels like a classic Hollywood movie.
It's the first movie I've rented online where you've got to watch it within 48 hours thing actually felt like
It's
pressure.
a challenge.
Because I was like, oh shit, am I
No.
actually going to be able to do this?
Now it's an actual challenge.
Yeah, I might watch it again at some point, but yeah, probably not for a little bit. But
Put an afternoon aside to watch it.
yeah, I
It's
did.
definitely not ITV2 with ad breaks, is it?
No,
Oh,
oh god, it'd be on all day.
I remember seeing it when I was little as well on TV shows and thinking about it having ad breaks. They must have been like, we don't have to schedule anything for the rest of the day because it
Yeah.
would run for like 4.5 hours.
Yeah. So I guess how many horrific bugs out of 10 would you give this movie then?
I think like 6 Andy Serkises getting eaten by nightmarish slugs.
I would give it 5 horrible centipedes crawling up the walls.
I'm gonna give it a 7. This was the first time I'd properly seen it. I think I'd seen bits of the other films, and I'd only seen what was it, the 70s one where it's still, or the 80s one even, where it's still pretty bad. So I was pretty blown away actually by how beautiful the film was, and that did at least make the long scenes nicer to watch. So I'm gonna give it 7 additional hours out of 10.
Jesus.
10
Yes.
total hours.
Oh, please no.
I genuinely really fucking enjoyed watching this movie. I had a great time watching it. I really enjoyed it. The length didn't seem to bother me. I'm going to do something that's been unheard of on this so far and give
Oh,
it
no.
10.
How dare
Oh my
you?
god.
10
No,
dinosaurs
no,
piling
I-
up at the end of
No.
I fundamentally disagree. Not
That
even
is
like
fine.
that's personal opinion. No, you are wrong.
I don't know. I really enjoyed it myself.
Does it not even lose a point for terrifying bugs?
They were pretty terrifying, to be
Bugs
fair.
are probably what stopped me from giving it a 4. They were so the fact that they were so horrific and terrifying gained it some points.
I think we might have to agree to disagree.
I'm shocked it took maybe half an hour to get to the Empire State Building.
Mm.
That isn't dropping it a point.
Yeah, I'm really clock watching a what's supposed to be a thriller.
Yeah. I guess a lot of this is probably the nostalgia for me as well.
That was great. I have to like act. That was great.
Oh, thank you. I had plenty of time to think up things to say about this movie.
Yeah, no, we'll keep going.
I guess with that, I have been Dan.
I've been Michael.
I've been Helena.
And I've been Elliot.
Genuinely nearly forgot my name.
There was a bit more of a pause than there normally is.
Genuinely forgot.
Yeah, well, you can find us on Twitter at Hilton Pod. That is at HILTM Pod. Feel free to tell me how wrong I am for how much I liked this movie, and
Yeah,
whether or not you
yeah.
liked it as well. I guess if you have time to put aside, maybe an afternoon, maybe a day. But yeah, you can obviously find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, everything like that. If you'd like to give us any reviews, or just let us know on Twitter how you're liking the podcast, then that'd be great.
I did forget to mention the one Wilhelm scream.
Oh,
You can mention it now if you want.
No, it's fine.
hey, I loved that monkey.
It's not a monkey.